Good day, Professor Getch and fellow classmates. My name is Anthony Albano. I am a student here at St. Peter's University, first-time student. Taking this class was a great experience for me as I'm learning to develop to become a manager, which is my whole reason for going back to school. So during this process, I had learned that we have this interview coming up, this final project. So once I looked over Linda Hill's interview questions from her book, I was excited to learn that it was surrounding transitions. And myself, in my department, we just recently underwent a organization change in our department. So a big structure change came about. I was on a team basically for around 11 years, and now I'm going to be reporting to a new manager. So this transition process had a little bit of instability. I was uncertain of in which direction we were going to go. But during the process, I was able to see that these questions were going to be answered based on the questions by Linda Hill. I was able to identify 8 questions, and I felt that once these questions were answered, I was curious to see where I was going to be mentally. Was I still going to have those same feelings of instability and uncertainty, or was I going to feel confident that this was going to have a positive impact? So I was originally scheduled to interview 3 people. Ursula Edwards, who's my direct manager. I also had engaged a second manager who I admired, and then the third being my director. But following my interview with Ursula, I didn't feel the need to go on any further. I really felt that Ursula was so accurate in answering these questions that during this interview, I really felt a change come over me, that the comfort level just rose for me. So I was very pleased with her answers. And the whole interview that carried on for about an hour. I was scheduled for a half hour, but went on about an hour. So the first question I had asked Ursula, and I wanted to know this basically from a director standpoint. I wanted to know, what does her immediate supervisor expect from her? I know with what my manager, Ursula now, and even with my previous manager, I know what they expected from me. But I wanted to know, what does the director expect of them? So her response basically was that the director's expectations were very clear and concise. They want to address the changes quickly, identify opportunities, and create solutions by managing your team and mentor your team to ensure that they're performing at their maximum. Also, in addition to that, finding business process improvements that bring efficiencies into the area, and also create partnerships and relationships with various internal customers and even external customers. So with this said, I could see how that expectation level from the director to the manager was a downstream process, and then that's also what Ursula expects of us and expects of me mainly. So that really did enlighten me to have that sense of security in that. The second question that I asked Ursula was almost like a 2-part question. It was 2 questions, but they were very similar, but they definitely provided different answers. What do you find most demanding about the transition? And then what's the hardest item you feel that you have to deal with the transition? So Ursula had stated the most demanding piece was that being at the end of last year and prior to becoming our manager, she was also a manager previously for a different area. But in addition, she didn't lose that area. She's also taking our team on. So it's not a whole new area to her. She's taking on our area, plus her previous role is still going to remain intact. So Linda Hill, basically, her questions were surrounding a transition to a new manager. So this was similar, but Ursula had explained that learning our new the new roles and the new responsibilities of our team is what she found most challenging. Understanding what our responsibilities were as a department and who our customers were, understanding who our customers were and how they relied on us to get the job done for them. Second question that was very similar to the first was, what is the hardest item she had to deal with during this transition process? Ursula went on to state that since we were a team that was together for approximately 11 years, coming on the new leadership was going to be a challenge, and the challenge was more on our end. She needed to understand our position and how we felt this change was going to have an effect on us. So the hardest part for her was understanding our emotions, our thoughts, and making sure that we were comfortable during this transition. She held weekly meetings with us, daily one-on-one meetings with us, just to give us that level of comfort that it's okay, I'm here for you, no need to panic, we're going to get through this in this transition. She also did advise that there was one item that was left out during this transition process, and that was that the roles were not clearly stated during this transition process. So when we went live and the change was effective, no one really knew what their roles or expectancies were. Ursula stepped up to the plate. She was great in understanding all that, taking all that into consideration. It made us feel very comfortable, making us feel that she was there for us. She didn't just hide in her office. She was really out there on the forefront, on the floor with us, letting us know that she's there. Following the second question, I went on to ask Ursula a little bit about herself as a manager. Not so much from a transition standpoint, but just from herself, her experiences with being a manager over her past few years of being a manager, and then what this meant for her taking on this new team. So the first question I asked her following that was, how is she coping with the managing of the stresses and the challenges and the demands that are coming along with this new area? So basically, she advised that what she typically does is she meets with her teams regularly and ensures that there's no open defects or any open issues or concerns of ours, whether it's personal or work related, and that she stays together with us until a solution is identified. She's been in meetings. She stated she has been in meetings for a few hours trying to come up with a solution, because she feels that once the meeting is broken up and you go about your daily day, what typically happens is it gets put to the back burner and you forget about those items until they come up weeks later. So the second part of it was, what personal resource does she rely on, and then what does she feels that it takes to become an effective manager or successful at her job? So following that, she stated that relying heavily on her team, that's her best resource, mainly because we're there every day, we see items firsthand, so we're the most experienced. We become those subject matter experts for her, and relying on us, showing that we need to be relied on by her, also gives us a sense of security, letting us know that we're valued by her. She also, for becoming successful at her job, she basically puts her best interests first, for the team, for herself, and understanding that she could do with that whatever she can within her power to achieve those interests and those goals. Becoming an effective leader, she also states, is understanding your person, the people who report to you, understanding their goals, what their career developments are, and making sure that her as a manager, she can help mold you and sculpt you to reaching your goal. She was one of the front runners in pushing me to go back to school, to obtain my degree, to become a manager, because she said that she saw it in me, that I had the drive, I had everything that was there, I just didn't have the degree. I had the experience, I had the knowledge base, but obtaining the degree was going to be a huge step for me. So Ursula was definitely had a huge impact on me going back to school and obtaining my degree, and carrying on my future education. She also carries out that pride in recognizing her team's efforts, by recognizing you at large meetings, whether it's town hall meetings, events of that nature. We even have an internal recognition program at work, and she's constantly giving you recognition there, which is seen by all directors and superiors. So that having that knowledge and that drive to help grow and help develop your staff is what definitely makes her successful at her job. During this transition process, again, following the interview, I finally then realized that this organization change, this transition in my career was a great move for my development, my career development. And she definitely provided a tremendous amount of insight on what it takes to become an effective manager. She's a fantastic role model, and that's basically the conclusion that I drew from this interview with her. Again, this is why I really didn't need to go on to a second or third interview with anyone else. I really felt comfortable in her answers to me that she provided. So I thank you for your time, and I hope that I was able to summarize the interview with Ursula into this presentation. Thank you.